One. All right. Testing one,
Yeah.
two, three. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh my God, is this gonna work?
Yeah.
All right. Let's give this a shot. Keep our fingers crossed. Make sure everything's gonna go smoothly here.
Yeah, I hope so. Let's see.
It's good on your end. Good on my end.
Yep. Yep.
Good. All right, man. Well, thanks for sticking through this 53-minute battle here.
No worries.
Yeah, man. So let's just start off a little bit with how you're doing today.
I'm doing well, man. The sun is shining in New York.
New York.
Overcast is creeping back up, but that's just the norm. And yeah, man, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good.
Good. Yeah, same over here. I'll be honest, man. This is something new for me. I'm feeling a little nervous,
Same.
mainly excited. Kickstart episode one off here with you.
Yes.
But yeah, tell me a little bit about your history with music and how long you've been making music for.
I've been making music for a decade and some change. I started
Yeah.
off because over 10 years ago, I got like a MacBook for Christmas. My family got me a MacBook, and I was just like kind of navigating my way around it and came across this software at the time called GarageBand. And I was like,
Nice.
I wonder what this is. And like as a kid, I was just obsessed with computers and software and programs and stuff. So I dove deeply into GarageBand and ended up just like playing around and like using like my MacBook microphone to like record rap verses and stuff over like famous songs, instrumentals that I ripped off on YouTube. So
Did did
like
you did you have a mic at the time, or were you using the laptop mic?
I didn't yet, and then eventually like I had asked my family for a mic for like my birthday or something, and
Yeah.
yeah, I eventually got a mic that I just like basically my workflow was like put the laptop on the dresser and put the mic like on a lamp because I had no mic stand. All I had was a mic, like a USB, like a really shitty USB mic. And I just put it on like a lamp and just like held it on the lamp, try to make it just stay still. And
Just whatever works.
yeah, really super makeshift, super DIY. And yeah, like over 10 years later, here I am today. Um, actually just had like a studio session like a week ago where
That's
it's
awesome.
kind of funny. Like for 10 years, I was the one recording myself um, and just doing it all myself. I'm at the point where now I'm working with an engineer in a little bit more of a professional space. So uh, I like it. It's
Yeah.
been a dope journey. Yeah.
How did you come across that studio?
I relocated and I'm spending a lot of time in Jersey and I just was like with this new change I want to also just like develop a new workflow. And for the longest time I've been wanting to record my stuff in a acoustically treated space
Yep.
and a professionally treated space. And basically I found I just went on Google Maps and just like looked at a bunch of studios and came across one, spoke to the owner, and we just clicked from there. And yeah, just I had a quick session, like 2 hour session last week, recorded a couple of songs. So I like that workflow. It was a little different working with someone else. It's a lot more personal and easy to just
Yeah.
like be loose when it's by myself and just recording for myself. But you know what? Like with the right engineer who's just tracking for you, like it's a dope process. It's a
Yeah.
privilege to have for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely makes the process a lot easier when you have someone else that's you've delegated the task to, so you're not the mixer, you're not in the booth, you're not writing, you're not doing everything.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. It's like outsourcing the bandwidth and just letting someone else like cover that so you can just fully be in the zone and
Right.
just be in your artistry. And I think like the better the workflow, the better the creative flow, and it just like comes flowing out way like just more seamlessly than like running back to the computer, pressing record, and like running to the mic.
Right.
You just it takes that weight off your shoulders for sure.
What is your creative flow like? Like what gets you in that creative space?
Well, it really varies from time to time. Like a lot of songs that I've written just came from a place of like trying to express myself as an outlet, as like a
Yep.
not as like a coping mechanism, but like as like therapy in a way. Just express some really like hardships and some really negative energy,
Hmm.
and just like transform it into something meaningful that other people can possibly relate to or even benefit from. So it's
Right.
really easy to like when I'm bothered and I'm upset or I'm struggling with something, it's actually really easy to write from that place just because of how
Right.
driving those emotions are. But
Right.
also, you know,
Right.
when I'm writing my more I guess like my brighter stuff, it just comes from like being in a vibe. I might go to the beach one day and just take in the experience and just like talk to people and just just get out and exist in the world. And like those
Hmm.
experiences motivate me and just charge that creative energy. And yeah, so whether it's one or the other side of of the polar spectrum, it's just like, yeah, it's just like different inspiration for different outputs.
Hmm. Well, I definitely noticed that when listening to your music, especially off this new EP, the Fall of the Tree, that it had a darker, heavier tone with topics of like depression or internal struggles, facing inner demons,
Yeah,
trauma. So
yeah,
it very much so seemed like it was an outlet for you to
yeah,
be able to
definitely.
express to be able to express that.
Yeah, it like writing that project really took me to just sit down and sit with my thoughts and sit with my feelings and really
Hmm.
just be introspective and reflect on just like the different themes and the different energy and the different concepts that are going on internally. It's like I had to really like meditate to
Mm.
just quiet my busy brain and just kind of focus on what's really going on subconsciously inside of me that could be affecting my everyday decisions or my everyday mood. And there's definitely things that just stem from childhood or experiences that stem from
Mm.
adolescence that are, they those experiences build up in you. They build up in a very
Right.
subconscious and passive way. And later on in your life, you're going to see that expressed actively. And that's kind of what I noticed.
So you would you say that you dove in pretty deep within yourself for this EP?
Yeah, 100%.
A lot of introspective reflection.
Yeah, I think for the most part, that's really like the purpose, the cause, and the result of the project. It's been like a process of just self-reflection from writing it to
Hmm.
creating beats and to just like listen back. It's all just a process and a cycle of introspection and reflection. And I definitely think that this is like one of the deepest areas I've gone in terms of internal struggle and that internal monologue.
I think so. I would say so.
Yeah.
It would did you work with anybody on this or did you do all of this on your own?
Yeah, so my homie Jungo actually produced like two or three out of the tracks, and the rest of the production was me. And then I
Okay.
engineered like in terms of like getting technical, I mixed and mastered the whole project myself and tracked.
Wow.
All of the vocals were just like me tracking everything at home. So it's like, yeah, it was a very DIY,
Wow.
not even in terms of like thematically, but just in terms of like the technical process. Everything was like very personal. And shout out to Jungo for being such a talented
Yep.
producer and a great friend. So yeah, I think when projects are extremely introspective and extremely personal, there's definitely a benefit to keeping the amount of hands working on it like to
Mm.
a minimum, because it's like writing an autobiography versus writing a biography. It's like the more people you add to writing a autobiography, it becomes more like a
Right.
biography, even if the
Right.
person is
There's less
involved.
people. There's less influence and less other people's opinions steering your decision making and allowing you to be a little bit more free in the expression.
100%, 100%.
That's great. What do you hope that listeners take away from this EP as a whole? Because I would I was listening to the whole thing, and it's very cohesive. All five of the songs work very well together,
Right.
and it seems like it has a theme. And I don't know if you've thought of that when you were creating the EP, or what.
Yeah. Um, so when I was getting ready to release it, I honestly didn't know what to expect out of people's reaction.
Yep.
Obviously, it's a very personal project, and until I released it, I hadn't actually realized that the more vulnerable and the more personal you get, almost the better you relate to people than making like generic poppy mainstream sounding
Hmm.
stuff, because like most people, pretty much if not everybody, most people go through some sort of internal struggle, and
Right. Of course.
the themes of their struggle very, like, most commonly are going to reflect similar like struggles and themes that you're going through yourself. So when I released this project, I got so many messages, so many DMs, and like so many messages from people just calling it like the number one word, the adjective that people described it as is just beautiful. And like to
Wow.
me that means the world, because like anyone could come up to you and be like, yo, that shit was lit, like that shit was dope, yo, dope project.
Right.
But like,
Right.
what does that really mean? Because like when you tell me that you felt something was beautiful, and some people told me that like, yo, these specific songs made me cry. Like to me that's
Wow.
almost like the greatest form of artistry and flattery at the same time, because like to me, that took me to get to a place where, like, these are topics and these are concepts that throughout my life I've bawled my eyes out over. And like when people
Right.
are coming to me and telling me that sort of thing, it's like, oh, okay, like there was a connection, there was a resonance there. And like we both experienced these things separately. And upon listening to my project and hearing my voice and my experience, like we experience it together. And I think that's just like the trippiest, coolest, dopest shit
Hmm.
ever, that like the deeper you go, man, like the more people are gonna sit there, listen, and resonate. And like it's just human. It's just some shit that's just
and
like
and and that's and
human
that's how you're gonna
experience.
build that's how you're gonna build really loyal and genuine fans, is when you're being genuine yourself and really real with it
Yeah,
through the
yeah,
music.
100%. I
That's
think it's
well
like,
that's
yeah,
that's that's awesome that you have gotten positive feedback from your listeners, and that you've been getting support through it all.
yeah. It's incredible. Like I go on these like mini hiatuses where I'll just like not post anything to anywhere. I won't
Uh-huh.
release any new music, but I'll just be working. And in these periods, like it's not like I forget that I have like friends and fans that and people who have been along, like been around and stuck along for like multiple years, but like whenever I come back, I'm more than reminded by just like the amount of love, the amount of respect, and the amount of props that I'm given by these people around me, and also the people who I don't even know. Like there's just like usernames and there's like screen names and there's just people out there who I recognize consistently just showing me
Uh-huh.
love, showing up, and just publicly sharing my stuff and like tagging
That's
me, and just
awesome.
like it's super cool, man. Like I remember like back when I released Maybelline, like there was this girl who made a concept art, like this anime version of like
Yep.
my song, like as an anime character. And I thought that was just like that's the flyest shit ever, that like someone loved the song so much that they sat in their room and just like drew
And
an
they did
anime
their
version of my
they did
song.
their thing. They did their artistry with your thing.
Yeah, man, they fucking remixed it in like the dopest
Right,
way
right.
ever. So that shit was incredible.
What platforms have people been reaching out to you primarily? Because
Word.
I've been seeing your Spotify, and kudos, man. It's really been, you've been putting in that work. You've been getting a lot of the monthly listeners, and it's been steadily and consistently growing, and you've been steadily and consistently grinding. Um, but yeah, what platforms are people mainly reaching out to you?
Word. So shout out to Spotify, and I know a lot of people, including myself, have been like, "Yo, they don't really pay that much per stream," and like they really don't. But you have to give that platform props in terms of like marketing artists and their and
Uh
spreading
huh.
music around like wildfire, because like they basically like really help the artists market themselves like basically for free. If you distribute your music to Spotify, they basically like have a way to put it on playlists and have user generated algorithms and stuff, like all this crazy stuff that basically like puts your song in people's like feeds and in their streams and in their playlist. So it's super cool to like see all these new people that are just coming in and listening to the songs and becoming a part of the community. But in terms of like what are the most popular platforms that I've been reached out to, it's probably like YouTube, Instagram, um, and like yeah, I've even gotten some like emails
Oh, really?
from people, yeah, just like personalized emails
Wow.
that people are just like, "Yo, I found your shit. I was looking for it for like months. I forgot what the fuck, and I'm glad I found you." And like that's just like the coolest thing ever. Because if someone takes the time to write an email, bro, like we live in such a fast-paced society that like nobody's on that shit anymore. But like someone wrote me a letter. It's just like the most endearing shit ever, you know?
Right. The you know how in Spotify you can see the regions where people are listening to?
Yeah,
Where is like the main group of listeners from?
yeah. So in the
Like
U.S. at
I'd
least,
imagine a little bit all over the place, but like where's that
yep.
main chunk? And is there anywhere that's like really surprising?
Yeah, so in the US at least, it's like the major cities like LA, New York, Houston,
Uh-huh.
Chicago, Dallas, like bunch of like Philly, like a bunch of like major cities. But I also have street like fans out in like Australia, in New Zealand, in
Nice.
like in the Philippines. So it's like it's super cool to look at those demographics and be like, yo, like you guys are really out there everywhere listening to my stuff. It's like it doesn't matter that I'm
Right.
speaking English or it doesn't matter like whatever. I just have fans that listen to me from everywhere, and I want to keep that going, and I want to like scale that up, and I want to spread because like to be honest, man, like I really like listening to my own music. I know a lot of artists,
Right.
they're not big fans of like playing their own stuff. Maybe they think it's narcissistic or whatnot, but I'm like, nah, like if I didn't like listening to this music, I wouldn't make it.
Uh-huh.
So like
Right.
I'm probably one of my biggest fans just by myself, you know, like for real.
That's good. Yeah, it's a little trippy, isn't it? Thinking about like that there's people all over the world like that are listening from like you're saying New Zealand, Australia, and it's like when you really break it down and think about it, it's like wow, like there's people out there all over the world listening.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is definitely is.
Now you were saying that you enjoy listening to your own music. Do you still actively look for new music to expand your music library, or are you mainly in a creative space versus a consuming space?
That's a really good question. And honestly, like when I'm actively working on stuff, I'm kind of like, I close the shutters and I'm just like
Uh huh.
locked in and kind of like in my own space and my own bubble. But I do from time to time when I go on a drive, I'll listen to like some of the playlist and some of like what's popping off on the internet, what's popping off in like Asia, what's popping off in the States. And like
Uh huh.
I try to keep my ear tuned to it, you know? So yeah, so it's really a mix of both. It's really a mix of
Yeah.
both. Just depends on like what phase I'm in at the moment. But I definitely love learning new stuff, listening to new stuff, the whole time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And were you listening to any particular artists while writing and recording this EP?
So
Or was it all just like being in the zone of the album and pretty strictly with just that?
so I was honestly listening to a lot of Zen Boba, as fucked as that sounds. Like to be honest, I was listening to a lot of my own stuff and just being like, okay, how can I go deeper? Like, how do I take this to another level, inside of myself and just like really just dive into
Yeah.
my spirit and my thoughts, and how do I retain some of that like magic and that glitter from my earliest stuff, and then like
Right.
add some depth to it and remix
Mhm.
it in that way, because
Yeah.
like I'm in love with like catchy hooks and catchy melodies, and like I still love the
Mhm.
musicality of things, but I think in terms of the depth of the content, just being able to get a little bit more abstract, thematically and also musically, is something that I strive to do, especially on projects,
Yeah.
compared to like singles and stuff, you know.
Right. Well, that's actually something I wanted to bring up because preparing for this talk, I was going through your entire discography, and
Word,
from the earlier stuff from Maybelline to your latest release,
word.
Nani, and from 2020. to the latest release, Nani, in 2021, like the sound and the evolution of the sound and the vibe is like astronomically different. Like if you were to
Yeah,
listen to Maybelline, it has this like kind of like sparkly pop, like kind of like a feel good
yeah,
kind of sound. And then you go to Nani and it's got this like gritty kind of, actually the first thing that popped in my head was like, man, this has got some like major J. Cole vibes.
yeah, for sure, for
And
sure.
I'm not sure if that's what you had in mind, but that's definitely the vibe that I got from it, from listening to it. Um, but definitely like I see what you're saying with the evolution of your sound and getting more depth to it.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely noticed that too. And I think that like I think in my head I've already zoomed out to the point where I personally understand like the vast variety of styles and sounds that I'm gonna eventually display for everyone, but
Uh
like it's
huh.
already in my head. So like when I
Uh
think about the sound and the style of the discography from Maybelline all the way up to Nani, is like those were already in my mind, like all of those styles were already in my mind, but it's a matter of like displaying that to the public and showing my fans and just people the variety stylistically that I can perform and that I can execute. So I'm thinking
right.
like where else can I take it now? I'm always looking for like an interesting pivot. I'm
Hmm.
always looking for like an interesting innovation to build and remix and take apart everything that I've already done and
Do
just
you
give it like a
do
new
you think you're
groove.
gonna do you think you're gonna throw your listeners for a wild loop and just completely give them something different next time?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's hard because like it's a balance of innovation and also just like tradition because I really
Mm.
love making the sounds of the songs that I've already made, but obviously I want to keep everyone, including myself, on their toes so it isn't just like
Uh
you
huh.
become desensitized to a certain style. And I almost felt like I was doing that in 2020 just by dropping like kind of like very similar stylistically like plug and be poppy rap stuff and or R&B you may call it, and like I want to display multiple tones here and just give people different palettes to pick from because ultimately like I want Zen Boba to be something that people can put on shuffle and it's like they're putting their iPod on shuffle, well, I guess their iPhone
Wow.
on shuffle, and it's like
Right, like
yeah
it's
like
a completely different a range and a
yeah
wide array of styles and
yeah
different sounds and vibes, but it's still got that familiarity of Zen
exact
Boba.
exactly because ultimately you know like I write all my own music, so it's like you're not getting somebody else's story, you're not getting
Right,
somebody
right,
else's concepts, like you're getting all like it's all at the end of the day coming from the same bottleneck, which is just like my brain. And
right.
and I think that's why people like my fan base can stick around because like they just fuck with my ideas. They fuck with my the way that I put my spin on stuff, and they fuck with my tone and they fuck with my flavors. And I think that just like builds such a loyalty and such a trust because like at the end of the day, like they I don't need anyone's approval, but they encourage me to just be the fuck out of myself, just be myself to the fullest,
Mm.
whether that means I'm singing like a country singer or singing like a pop swag rapper. Like it doesn't matter because like every idea is really mine of my own, and I'm not
Is
trying
that
to
a
be
hint? Is
anybody
that a
else.
hint to some Zen Boba country?
You know what, it very I can't say yet, but it very well might be a hint in the future, so who knows. But
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Going from a little bit back to Maybelline to Nani, from that era, like in a year, do you feel like you're in a different place in life, mentally, emotionally, and creatively from then to now?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like
Yeah.
those songs were, you know, made like before or like even like almost like right during COVID. And like it's
Yeah.
really interesting to think that like I mean, not only has my life changed, but the whole world has changed since that point. And I
Absolutely.
definitely have too, like the mental space, the creative space, even like the financial space. Like I've just been focusing in on all of these categories a lot more and just improving myself. And yeah, a lot of my happiest songs were written in some of my darkest times. And I
Interesting.
find it yeah, and it's interesting to think that like The Fall of a Tree being my most recent body of work it's like those are some of my darkest songs, but I'm actually in like a much better place than I was when I wrote Maybelline. So
Hmm.
it's just like it's a very interesting paradigm to view it from a third person and just be like, yo, like what are the patterns and like what are like the habits that are formed and what does this all mean? It's just like a really
Hmm.
interesting experiment. Yeah.
Wow. So from 2020 to 2021, in 1 year, you've released 19 singles and a 5-song EP.
Right.
Like that kind of work output is crazy. I'm just curious, like how has that been for you? Like what has been like your workflow?
Yeah.
Because
So for
it seems like it's like every other week you've been releasing a new single.
Yeah, there was definitely a period where I was trying to get like 2 songs a month out. And honestly, like
Yep.
I was just listening to a bunch of like the concepts that the rapper and artist Russ talks about, where it's like this man was putting out a song a week for like 2 years and then his shit blew up. And I was like, yo, that'd be really interesting if it happened to me too. So I just
Uh
like
huh.
was grinding for a while, just trying to put out as much as I could. And then
Yeah.
recently I took a step back and I was like, yo, like some of the best things that have happened in my life are things that like it's not that I didn't work for them, but I didn't stretch for them. I didn't like strain myself in trying to grab it externally.
Mm,
Like a lot of the best
right.
shit that happened is because of like the internal gains that I've constructed and like the
Mm,
internal growth. And like to me, like I realized that like I kind of slowed down my pace so I can make projects and just put together like a cohesive project that I'm just like, yo, I fuck with these 5 songs solidified and I want to throw them all together in a bundle. And I
right.
honestly like working that way because it takes the anxiety out of like, oh, like next week is coming up, like gotta put a song out, like gotta whether the
Right. Right.
song is
Right.
ready or not, gotta put it out. And I'm like, that's healthy to a certain extent, but like once it stifles your creativity and it fills your creativity with anxiety, like it becomes detrimental. It's like diminishing returns in a way where
Right.
it's like,
Like you're able to slow down a little bit and put in a little bit more thought and intention
yeah,
into one cohesive project and
yeah,
one cohesive almost idea really because it all really plays off of one another.
yeah, 100%. And honestly, it just feels better. It feels better to just like
Right.
work at a pace that allows for the cultivation of healthy artistic habits. And like
Uh-huh.
when you're rushing week to week just for the sake of getting songs out, like and don't get me wrong, like I love those songs. Like I love the songs that I put out back to back, or else I wouldn't have made them in the first place.
Right.
But I'm like, yeah, like I definitely benefit more as a human being and as an artist when I have the time and space to let my creative juices just cultivate and like let that simmer. Like it's like, yeah, like you could throw a steak on a grill like out of the packaging and put some oil and salt and pepper, or you could like marinate that shit for like a day and then cook it. You know what I
Right.
mean? I feel
Right.
like I've been
Right. Yeah, I
doing
hear you.
it's a lot more marinating now, and like through that I've really revisited an enjoyment of making music that I definitely feel I've lost over the years. And I'm happy to say that I'm understanding music in a way that I did when I was younger, but I kind of became desensitized to just like through the years of grinding, because grinding can just
Right.
kind of like numb you to all the benefits. So it's nice to slow down and take the time with it and let it marinate for sure.
Make some juicier steaks.
Yeah, yeah.
Make some tastier steaks. How long did it take you to from beginning to end finish this EP until you really decide like it's done?
So this is a really interesting question because like some songs on there are were like pretty much almost done 2 years ago. And like
Interesting.
I basically like took those type of songs, finished them, and then like made the project around it. And it's like really interesting to see how like themes are connected from that amount of time in the past. And then like in recent times I wrote some of the songs too. So it's just like tying these themes together and revisiting themes that I needed to, because like for whatever reason I like got distracted and like didn't focus on the internal monologue and the internal narratives, and like revisiting it and like tying it all together probably took like 3 or 4 months.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you had few of the works started really like 2 years ago, which you
yeah,
kind of revisited, and then really to get it cohesive and as like a finished project with it ready to be released was about 3 months.
Yeah,
you'd say?
yeah,
Yeah,
yep, definitely.
yeah. And within those 3 months, what was that like routine like? What was like a day to day like for Zen Boba?
Yeah, so it was actually like just like mad depressing because like things throughout COVID just got like really slow, really hard, and like like waking up in the morning, it's like you just feel motivated and you don't feel like supercharged like you may have felt, or at least I may have felt like before all the COVID shit happened. And like
Yep.
I just was feeling like really sluggish, and like honestly like I think it would have gotten done quicker if I wasn't like so sluggish and just like so like groggy from like a year of just like isolation and quarantining and stuff.
Mm.
But
It does
uh, you
something to
know,
you.
yeah, yeah, it does, and it definitely did something to the music where it was like the longer that COVID shit went on, I was like, okay, like I can't run from my internal monologue anymore and these internal struggles because like they're just speaking too loudly. Like quarantine kind of
Mm.
brings out those negative emotions in you and forces you to look at them because you're just like
Mm.
home all the time and you're just like you have nothing to like think about, nothing to do really that matters, and it's just like, all right, well, like I might as well deal with my like psychology and shit. So
Right.
yeah.
It kind of like forces you to go inwards.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
time slows down and the rest of the world is shut off and all that you're left with is like yourself.
Yeah, yeah,
At the end of the day,
100%.
maybe like family, but
Word.
yeah. So and also probably another thing about that is the restriction on travels. Um, Something that many people might not know about you is that you're a pretty seasoned traveler yourself, and that must have been pretty hard um, to not be able to travel for someone that enjoys that so much.
Yeah, man. It's like, in my songs, I'm constantly calling out cities I've either been to
Right,
or want to go to. And
right,
like, yeah, travel, like I lived in Thailand for a couple months, like a couple years ago, and like travel is just like the most inspiring, energy shifting thing ever because you're literally spending time in a completely different frequency. And it
right.
feels like a different like global chakra is just like filling you up and just like revitalizing you in a way. And yeah, not being able to travel for a while like made me realize that like I can't just stay local forever. Like I'm eventually gonna be able to need to move around just for inspiration's sake.
Mm,
And to keep the art healthy and to keep the art supercharged and vitalized, I'm definitely
right.
gonna need to have
That
that perspective.
that sense of newness, that sense of freshness.
Sure.
I mean, one of the lyrics you have in the song "As It Happens" is "Some people travel for pleasure, so I get away because that shit is just something I need."
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, so
literally that I kind of think that line is just so fire, not because it's like the craziest rap bar ever, but because it just so accurately defines like what I'm talking about when I say like travel is just like an important part of my life, like
yeah,
moving around and moving in that energy. It's more than just like when I travel, I don't go to touristy like 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 resorts the whole time. Like maybe I'll check it out for like 25 minutes, get a cocktail at a resort, but like I'm mainly staying in like the areas where the locals hang out. And like to me, like that allows me to actually get a sense of life and an appreciation for life coming from one of the most privileged Western countries in history. And just like moving around in third world countries, just like it just changes your level of gratitude in a really healthy way. So
right. Like you like to go about your travels in a day to day basis of how the people live there.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, obviously, it's restricted to a certain extent because, like, one, I'm an American and like I'm moving around and I have USD and like USD is just like the most powerful currency in
Right,
the world. And when you go to these third world countries, like your dollar's value increases like 3 to 4x. So
right,
like you're
right.
just like, I mean, you still got to spend money, but you're spending money like much more effectively, and that kind of changes your perspective about like what's possible and how you feel and like who you are in a sense because like you're doing more. And I think that like we define ourselves as like what we do to a certain extent. Like our behaviors and our actions definitely are a mirror of reflection for who we are as people. So yeah.
Nice, man. Do you do writing one when you're like abroad when you're traveling?
Honestly, not too much. I'm kind of just like in the moment and I'm
Yeah.
just
Kind of
soaking
just
in the whole
soaking it in.
experience, soaking in the whole energy. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Would you say that you have any of your songs off this album or any of your singles inspired from your travels? I know you got certain songs I mean by the title you got some like Bangkok, Shanghai,
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Waikiki.
Yeah, definitely. So I've never been to Hawaii yet, but I definitely want to
Ah,
go. And I really fuck with the Terrace House Hawaii season where they're like, it's a
yeah.
bunch of people who like speak Japanese. They're like half Japanese or full Japanese, and they live on like they live in like a shared house, and like they're just like in Hawaii. And that shit is just like so dope. Like that's just a
Yeah,
dope fucking perspective.
I've seen a few episodes of that show. It's like a reality TV show of
Yeah,
in Hawaii, right?
it's like a lot more respectable version of Jersey Shore. It's like a
Yeah,
lot it's
yeah,
like a
yeah.
lot
That's one way to put
classier.
it. Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And I fuck with those vibes, and I can't wait to go. But in terms of like travel and like inspiring song titles, like definitely like as it happens off of this project is like just the vibes of being in Bangkok and just being like just feeling like just feeling like I'm free, just feeling like I want to talk my
yeah,
shit, not because I'm like balling, just because I'm like I'm free, and like I just
yeah,
feel like my highest self, and I just want to
yeah.
talk my shit in that moment, you know. So
The latest travels I saw on your Instagram was Mexico. Is that right?
yeah, Mexico was
And
my last
how was
trip.
that?
Mexico was really interesting, man. Like I never been there before my recent trip, and like there was so much to learn just about the way of life and the speed of life and the way that
Yep.
just people are living out there, whether it's the expats or the locals. It was definitely it showed me that like, like every country is literally way different from another one. Like Mexico is
Mm.
nothing like Thailand. Like there was some similarities in terms of like infrastructure or how to get around, but other than that, like every country just has a different frequency. They're just the general masses are operating from a different energy, and it's so interesting.
The food there is incredible too.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
tacos and
yeah,
the
100%. The food
weather.
is yeah, the seafood out in Mexico is like my favorite thing.
Yeah,
I had whole octopuses like 2 nights in a row, and I was like, wow, this is incredible.
yeah. For like nothing too. For like
Yeah,
no, like
yeah, it's super cheap.
a third of the price that you would get it out here in the
Yeah,
states.
exactly, exactly. So I had to take advantage of that. I was just eating like fully cooked full octopuses. Like it was just incredible, man. It was just incredible.
Yeah. I had the privilege of spending 2 months out in Mexico this winter
Word,
too. So yeah, I mean
word.
it was awesome, man. It was kind of a creative retreat for me, to just kind of get away and to experience a different, culture, a different place, and to kind of just slow down and get away from the mental space of everyone. With it was like in the heat of COVID, so everyone was so like opinionated and like mentally charged with like their, like what they had to say. So it was nice to
Yeah,
just kind of get away from that, just be by the water and, just have good food.
100%, 100%. It's
There's
definitely a good place to
tacos,
go
good
retreat.
tacos, warm weather and beaches. It's like
Yeah,
it's just living life.
yeah, 100%. It's a great mental retreat and creative retreat to collect
Yeah,
yourself and gather yourself and just
yeah,
enter a little peaceful zone.
yeah, yeah. And I felt like I came back, um, with new ideas and kind of that was like a shifting point, kind of like a checkpoint in a way of kind of like looking back and like I don't think a lot of the things where I am now would have occurred had I not been in Mexico for 2 months to kind of reflect on my life.
Mm, yeah, man, it's that domino effect of just like
Right, right.
you always bring back more than you left with, and in like a
Mm.
really good way. That perspective change is extremely valuable. Definitely.
Yeah, that's how I would put it. Is like a domino effect.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, man, it's pretty dope. So, concluding this, what's next for Zen Boba? What can we expect?
What's next for me and for the work is just more exploration and more higher resolution in the concepts that we've seen. I want to just
Yep.
like get more accurate, more high res, and define these sounds and these tones and these melodies and these messages to the best of my ability, and have it reflect the skill level that I'm increasingly getting to. So yeah, I want to keep everyone on their toes, including myself.
So just keep evolving, keep growing, keep articulating, and keep getting better at articulating a
Yeah,
similar idea to a deeper depth.
definitely, and I also want to get a little bit more fictional again, and maybe not only
Mm,
explore like autobiographical concepts, but also just like concepts at large, and paint
yep.
pictures like a movie director would too. So yeah,
Right. Kind of approaching it almost thematically
yeah,
or cinematically.
cinematically, definitely cinematically, definitely.
Yeah. And I have to ask this: any live performances in the near future that we can expect? Because
Nothing
I
at the
know,
moment. Nothing at the
yeah,
moment. I'm hoping for as things open up more and as like
yep,
performing becomes more commonplace, I'm
yep,
hoping that we could do a show or two here and there.
yeah, that'd be dope.
Especially into 2022. That'd be
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah. I'm sure you remember, but about like 2 years ago, when me and a few other friends had hosted this like open mic show
Yeah.
performance, and we had you as one of the three performers, and
Yeah.
I might edit a little clip of you performing here if I can, but like, man, to be able to see that and evolve with a new set, like
Yeah.
I think that's just like that next level, to
Yeah.
to be able to build that connection live with your audience and your fans in real time.
Yeah, 100%. And it's cool having like roughly 25 songs right now that I can just like pop on and just fucking vibe to. Like it's
Right.
incredible having this catalog now to look back and be like, damn, like we really have like 25 songs now. It's incredible.
Which songs, I'm curious, which songs would you be most excited to perform and least excited to perform live?
I think it depends on like the nature of the venue itself. Like if we're
Uh-huh.
doing like some really intimate, like small venue where like the audience is super close up, then I probably wouldn't do like most of my hype shit. I'd do like more somber shit. And like if
Right.
I was doing like an outdoor or like an indoor, but like it's like lit and like there's like speakers are bumping, like I would do like my heavy hitting shit like
Mhm.
Maybelline, Shanghai, like
Yep.
all that type of hype shit, you know? So like
Right.
it just depends on like it depends on the nature of the event. But I'm fortunate to have that variety and catalog that I can kind of pick and choose now and like kind of cater to the ambiance of the event.
Right. Yeah, I hear that loud and clear, man. I mean, even I'm learning that more and more performing myself is like, because I'm a solo acoustic performer, so it's like I can
Right.
I can I can hit a certain like target, but then like when people want to get in that range of like a little bit more turn up,
Yeah, yeah,
it's hard to cater to that. So I'm like
for sure.
I'm still learning what to do in that situation.
Right, right. I definitely see how that could be a little bit of an obstacle, but you're a creative dude.
Yeah,
I think you'll know what to do when it's time.
yeah, yeah, man. Well, I just wanted to conclude it with that, and yeah, man, I'm really excited for all that's in store for you and like everything that you have in store for the future.
Likewise, bro. I appreciate you having me on, and I look forward to doing this again one day. Maybe we'll have double the music out or something that we could chop it
Yeah,
up about, or we'll
yeah.
see what happens, bro. Thank you for having me
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. Man, no, like when we met like 4 years ago, and I got this on video like when we first met, and we were in Jeremy's crib making
Yeah,
chopping up some beats and a song, and I remember you
yeah,
were saying like you knew in your head that there was like a reason why you never stopped, and
yeah.
you're like, as long as you just don't stop, you can do anything you want, like
Yup.
anything, as long as you just stay consistent and just don't stop. And I think that we're all here beginning to see that truly manifest right now.
That's
It's like,
real. That's
yeah,
real, bro. I totally feel that. And I still believe in that. Like,
and
you have to look at things thematically in that way and zoom out bird's
yeah,
eye. If
yeah,
you never
yeah,
stopped at something, even when all the trials and tribulations hit, there's probably a reason why you never stopped, and you probably won't stop. So it's just like
right.
keep going. Let's keep
But
going. Let's keep working.
yeah, it was a trippy video for me to watch for on both my side and for your side. I was like, man, like Like we've come a long way, man.
Word, word,
And
100%.
and I have a feeling like this is really only just the beginning. Like this really feels like it's still day one, you know?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
still
I
so much
definitely
to
agree.
learn. Yeah.
Definitely agree, bro.
All right, man. Well, it was great talking to you. Thanks for chatting. I say this is a good episode one for the books.
Fuck yeah, bro. Thank you for having me on.
Dude, absolutely, man. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
All right, Zen, have a great day, man.
Peace, bro.